Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a beginner guide on how to use OBS Studios. To get started, you want to go to obsprojects.com. You're going to choose your operating system. If you have Linux, you'll just have to read the instructions on how to install this. For Windows and Mac, it's pretty simple. Okay, when you've opened your OBS, you should see a black screen over here if it's been installed for the first time. Mine, I'm recording on this at the moment, that's why you see this over here. Now we're going to go over a few things before I get into the settings and how I've set my stuff up. So we're going to skip scenes, it's a little more advanced, and we're going to move over to sources. This is pretty much what you need as a beginner. So you can see I've got my desktop, that is picking up whatever's on my desktop at the moment. You've got a display capture over here. Now, this display is picking up what you see at the moment here. I'm going to add another display. Now there's two ways to add a display. You can either right click and say add, and then you can choose whichever you want, or you can just press the plus over here and then add. So we're going to add a display capture. You'll be able to name your capture. I don't really name these, I leave them as they are. It's not necessary. Make sure that this is selected. Make source visible, it needs to be selected, and say OK. Now that you've moved over to this little window, you're going to go to display over here and you're going to choose your monitor screen. So only one of mine are picking up at the moment, that's fine. And you're going to make sure, well, you can decide whether you want your cursor to show or not. If you do, you'll select capture cursor or you'll put it off and say OK. So that one's pretty simple. Now we've set that up and it's picking up the screen. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. The next thing people usually want to use is a game capture. So we're going to add a game capture. You're going to have the same options. Pick a name if you want to. You can name it whatever game you're playing, or you can just leave it game capture. Then you'll say make source visible and you'll say OK. Now, you have a mode. You can either select to capture any full screen application, or you can move over to capture specific window. This is usually what I use. I capture specific window. You'll have the option to select the window over here. I've got no games open at the moment, so it won't show over here, but if you have a game open, it should show. You'll select that game and then you will say OK. Now your game capture is set up. So the next thing to know is these at the bottom here. So this is the plus. If you want to remove them, you can minus over here, so I'm just gonna get rid of this one for now. Okay, so that is how to add or remove. Then you have your settings. Sorry, if you select that and you have your settings, you can go in there, or you can right click, or you can, go to properties. Then you need to make sure whichever display you're using at the moment, okay, this one is showing because it's the only one active. Whichever display you're using, or whichever capture you're using, needs to be on top. So if I had a game open, my game would be showing now. If I want my display to show, I would move it up. So my display will show over my game capture. Next, we're going to have a look at audio mixes. So you can see your desktop audio and you can see your mic. I'm going to mute this at the moment. I'm not using this specific mic right now. So for your desktop audio, you can go here to settings, properties. This will show your desktop audio. Make sure it's set to default and say OK. For your mic, you're also going to go to properties and you're going to select the device you have installed. I'm using a Samsung Go mic, so I'm going to select that and I'm going to say OK. So that is my mic and that is my desktop. Those will pretty much be there all the time. I won't really change them. It will just be set to a default setting, and that is about it. Scene transitions we're not going to go through, that's part of scenes and that's a bit more advanced, and we'll go over our controls. So you can see here that you have start streaming, start recording, studio mode, settings, and exit. Now as soon as you select start streaming, it's going to change to stop streaming, and the same with recording. If it says start recording, it's going to say stop recording while you're recording. Now I am using OBS to record, but I've got two windows open because I want to be able to show you guys the setting menu, and you can't do that while you're recording. It grays it out. So we're going to select here, we're going to go to settings, and this window is going to pop up. Now in general, there's not much that you need to change. You have your language, you can select what language you want to use. I'm English, so I'm using English. You have your theme. Now OBS has 4 themes at the moment. Your system theme, which is the the default theme. Then you have a dark default theme, and then you have this one over here, which is nice, and you have this one. Now I usually use this theme, I much prefer it, so I'm gonna go with that. Okay, we're gonna move over to streaming. So as you can see here, it's your services. You're gonna choose what you're using to stream on. So if you're on YouTube, you're going to select YouTube. If you're in Twitch, you're going to select Twitch, and vice versa for any of these. You can connect to specific accounts. I don't use streaming, so I don't have an account selected, and you'll use your stream key. Now when you stream, you've got a specific key that you'll insert into this program, and that is what you'll use to be able to stream. We're going to move over to outputs, and in outputs there are a few options here. So you've got streaming over here. Of course, you're going to make sure it's 1920 by 1080 if your computer can support that, or if your screen can support that. I've got mine set to 1920 by 1080, so that's HD settings. Your encoder you will set to your graphics card. I set mine to my graphics card. Again, I don't use streaming, but I've got mine set like that. Your bitrate you want to put up to about 3K. Maybe you want your bitrate to be good, but you don't want it to be too high for people who are watching your stream videos. They still need to be able to manage it. If they can't manage a really high bitrate, then it's kind of going to be really laggy for them. So your bitrate on here will only be 3000. We're going to move to recording. Now recording is what I use most of the time, and I keep most of these are default settings, but not a lot of them are. Like most of them are, but some of them aren't. So we're going to go to type, and we're going to, okay, this was already standard. I left that at standard. You're going to choose your recording path. So mine goes to my F drive, YouTube recordings. Then you're going to choose your format. Now, when it comes to format, you can choose a few. You've got your MKV option, and MKVs, you know, if your program ever crashes, your MKV will save. So that's a good thing about it. The file size is a lot larger in MKV. So if you are recording in MKV, that file is going to be quite big. I usually use an MOV. You can either use an MOV or MP4, which I think are either one of those are probably your best options. They are smaller, and with an MKV, when you use an MKV, you need to put it into a secondary program. So I use Sony Vega. I can't pull an MKV into Sony Vega, so I end up having to put it into Handbrake, make sure that I format it, and then moving it into Sony Vega. It gets a little bit tiresome. The only problem with an MOV or MP4 is they do warn you that if it crashes, you will lose your file completely. However, I have never had an issue where I've lost my file because my OBS has never crashed, and also my computer's never crashed, so I don't have that issue. I'm going to set mine to an MP4. Then you have your encoder, which again is your graphics card. You don't need to touch any of that. Then we'll go down here to bitrate. I usually set my bitrate to around 20k. I know it's pretty high. I have a really good computer, so I just set it as high as possible to make sure that the recording quality is really good. And okay, look, I had it on 40. I think 20 is fine though, and that should be good for you. Under audio, there's not much to go over. This is pretty much default. These are just your device settings again. You can select your mics and that from here. However, we've already changed that in our settings here, so we don't need to do anything there. Then we have our video settings. Now this is your resolution. So I've got an HD, so 1920 by 1080. If you've got by chance 4K, then you can select your 4K monitor. I do not have a 4K on my computer, so I just have the normal HD. And your output and your input will be the same. Under downscale filter, you'll use this one over here. You want it to be the best that it can, so you're going to choose sharpen scaling 36 samples. Your FPS, you also want that to be as high as possible, so we're going to go with 60. If your computer isn't really great, you might want to lower that a bit, but you'll have to fiddle with that and see what works best for you. Then we've got hotkeys. Now I don't use hotkeys a lot. I don't stream. I only ever use it for my recordings. I've got it set to the same key, which is F8, so if I press F8 on my keyboard, it will start or stop recording, and that's good for me. Nothing else that I use needs to be set under F8, or there is nothing that's set on F8, so that's fine, even games that I play. Then the advanced settings. Now you shouldn't have to touch your advanced settings. Mine are all default. Yours should be default as well, and you should be able to just leave it as it is. So we're going to do that. We're just going to leave that as it is. We're going to apply and say okay. And yes guys, I think that is about it. I don't think there's much else that we need to do here. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to show you. If any of you have a webcam and you want to set up your webcam, over here under your sources, you can go and you can add a video capture device. Now mine will probably pick up. You'll see this window pop up over here, and you can select your webcam. So I'm going to use this one over here, which is closed. Okay, I'm just going to use my webcam. That's fine. So you should see me now. Okay, I'm sorry for the quality. It hasn't been edited or anything like it. I haven't touched up on any of the settings, so it kind of looks a little bit bad. And there you go. So you've added your webcam. You can resize it over here, however big you might want it, and you'll say okay. Now do keep in mind, if you've set up your video capture first and you'll have it here at the bottom, you won't be able to see that. You need to make sure to move your video capture to the front of your screen so that it looks like this. And that is it. If you did enjoy this tutorial, please like and subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot to me, and let me know if you guys would like me to do anything else, a more advanced one, if you want me to do Sony Vega, if you want me to do CorelDRAW thumbnails, I can do any of those for you. Please let me know. Thank you so much. Bye guys.